We are here with 3 wonderful guests from 3 different regions here talking about the next boom in cryptocurrency and wallets. So why don't we have Eric start off by introducing himself and his company and what they're focusing on.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Larchevêque. I'm the chairman of Ledger. We are designing hardware wallet security solutions for cryptocurrencies, and we are based in Paris, France.
Hey, everyone. My name is Kasala, and I'm the founder and CEO of My Wallet. We pretty much specialize in Ethereum ecosystem, and we are like the leading wallet service provider or wallet interface provider for Ethereum. And we are mainly located in, most of our team is located in downtown Los Angeles.
Hi, my name is Phil Chen. I'm the decentralized chief officer of HTC Exodus. It's a crypto phone that empowers you to own your own keys. We also use this secure element in the phone for you to be able to sign keys, sign transactions. We have an SDK with a key management API if you want to extend the security of your software wallet into our hardware. We also have something called social key recovery. So we have a key recovery mechanism when you lose your phone. That's also something we're going to open source. And so any wallet provider can use our social key recovery mechanism. Yeah.
Wonderful. Awesome. So I'm going to start off this conversation with a simple icebreaker. Will humans ever get private keys?
We get them, like understand them?
Yes. Will they ever get past through private keys and the challenges of private keys?
Well, it's certainly a tough question because private keys is an information that is quite difficult to understand, just the concept of what is a private key. We see that all the time with our customers. We have sold more than 1.5 million hardware wallet, and people are struggling with how they can manage the private keys, the backup, everything. It's a real question because if you are your own bank, it comes with a lot of responsibilities. And so one of the key questions is about education, to understand what you have to do, what are these responsibilities. And the more we go into mass adoption, the more new people come into cryptocurrencies, and they don't have any understanding of cryptography, of the notion of public address, private keys. So it's a real challenge, I guess, for any maker of wallets and solutions.
No, exactly. I totally agree with Eric. It's been one of the biggest challenges that we have to face every day because like being a wallet interface is one of the main questions that we get from our customers or users on a daily basis. Like, what is the private key? Like, how can I use it? Well, oh, I lost it. Can you replace it? Or can you reset it for me? And unfortunately, that's like one of the toughest questions that if they lost it, like, what do we do with it? But to answer your question, I think at the end of the day, majority of the people don't have to understand the private keys if we do it right. If we create the proper interface, proper usability, proper user experience. I think only like the main co-developers or like the people who are behind the scene has to understand the proper reason or how to exactly use the private key. But like we should be thinking more about how, in order to have mass adoption, we shouldn't be like trying to teach everyone what is a private key or like it's 64 hex characters long and blah blah blah. Like, and this is this you can derive the public key from a private key, and then there's address and all these cryptographic things that confuse anyone within the first minute that you start talking about it. So at the end of the day, I think at least from New Team's perspective, we are moving towards a goal that requires users to not as be familiar with private keys, but like also maintain the security of owning their funds or having the control of their funds.
It's a great question. I think it's a very critical question too, but I do take the standpoint in which the private key is one of, if not the most important piece of the pie of this whole crypto decentralized ecosystem. It's the foundational assumption, if you believe in this open, neutral, censorship-resistant, borderless kind of public blockchain system, the ownership of some, each individual owning their own private keys is of utmost importance. And so we take that very seriously, and that's one of our biggest focuses on the Exodus is empowering users to own their private keys, securing it, making sure that the hardware is enough to protect it. But you do lose your phones, and we have key recovery mechanisms, and yeah, it's a hard problem to solve. It does take a lot of education, but I do think that the 18-year-old today, the university student today, does understand what's at stake. You can see a lot more education and courses being offered at university, and I think at that level, that the Gen Z, so to speak, are much more conscious about this, about privacy, about owning their keys and things of that nature. And so, this is a 10, 20-year plan, but yeah, it is I think it's a fundamental foundational thing that needs to happen. Everybody owning their private keys.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's like we think of private keys as something that's gonna solve our tomorrow's problem, but it's not. It's like 10 to 15-year problem that we have to keep improving ourselves, keep improving the products, keep improving the user experience in the industry, so that eventually people will start understanding not the core principles of the private key, but at least they are in control, so they have to remember this specific password that they come up with, or something that they have control over, and eventually we should hopefully be able to make people use decentralized applications or wallets that doesn't make them understand the core principle of the private key.
So it sounds like it'll be a while, but we'll get there. Everyone's hopeful
there
on the stage.
Yes.
Yeah. Wonderful. What I want to get into also is that I know that each of you and your company is based out of different region. Eric being out of Europe, and Kosala being out of the US, and Phil out of Asia. And all your products are distributed around the world. But I'd love to hear some of the stats or trends that you're seeing locally, or just within the company, and the type of adoption that you're seeing with your products in your company.
Well, we are based in France, and France is only 2% of our sales. So for sure,
2%.
2%, yeah. So the local market for us is not, let's say, the most critical one. Our biggest markets are the US, or in Europe it could be Germany, the Netherlands, UK, and it's true that if we look at France, for instance, it's not yet the nation of cryptocurrencies. We have a tendency not to get adoption to the latest technology. So from the beginning, when we created Ledger, it was clear that for us we had to be international. There was not a possibility just to rely on our local markets. And that's why one of the first decisions that we took after the foundation of Ledger was to open our offices in San Francisco, because we had to be global from the start. And that's the beauty of cryptocurrencies, is that you are really addressing a global market, and wherever you are, as you said, sales are global, and you just need to adapt to the maximum of these markets.
Yep. I think that's one advantage we have over actual having a physical product, is that having a website. So
well, you do have a physical product as well.
Well, no, we don't have any physical product.
You don't have a physical. No. You don't have a hardware wallet.
They use ours.
So
and others. But,
yeah. So we partner with a lot of hardware wallet providers, but we don't have our own hardware wallet. We do have a software, but that's one advantage of having a online service or website, that we don't have to think about all these shipping logistic issues, or all the things that requires you to mail physical hardware, or get to the market, introduce them, all that. But we our biggest market is US as well. We don't collect any user information or user data. We're completely opposed to that. So privacy-oriented website, no analytics. But so we collect our information from websites such as SimilarWeb and Alexa Rank. So from there, we figured out like US is our largest market, and like most of our users are from US. But it doesn't mean like we cannot just have the English version of the wallet. So that's why we translated it to different other languages, and like we are constantly adding new languages. Regulations-wise, since we are the interface, so far we had no issues with the regulation side. But like our partners, we know our partners like the hardware wallet providers and the exchanges that we work with constantly get into regulation issues that request them to make certain changes and do things certain ways and collect more information and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I think what Eric said is quite similar to us. I mean, our markets with the U.S., a lot of European first world countries. But I do see, I do want to see a lot more adoption in the global South countries. The Venezuelas, the Argentinas, the Cambodia, Vietnam, kind of Indonesia kind of worlds, where things like Bitcoin, it's a necessity. It's not just a speculative instrument. Which is why, when we launched this, the next version of Exodus, the 1S, it's a entry level, it's much more accessible. I think our first version was more targeted towards developers who wanted to use this SDK to develop, decentralized applications. And so, much of, how it's distributed, it's similar to, I think, the Ledger crowd. But I really do want to see more adoption, and this is where we're trying to do more focus on the global South countries.
Do you think the Exodus now offering a Bitcoin full node will encourage more adoption?
Well, it's a Bitcoin full node is not the target audience. So it's still more the Bitcoin crowd. It's not. It's not mass market. It's not something that appeals to a mass market user. I think the Bitcoin node running a full node is also one of the most important things one needs to do to help secure the network, right? I think us focusing first on owning your own keys, it's just like empowering yourself, then kind of the next thing we're doing in being able to support a full node is now you want to help secure the network and the community, right? And these are foundational things for this whole blockchain ecosystem, or in this case Bitcoin, to work. And so more decentralization, more verification, relay nodes, and I mean, these two together are so disruptive and powerful concepts that that's what we're building on. I wouldn't say I know exactly where these people will come from, where my customers will come from these two sort of foundational principles: owning your keys, running your own node. But the Bitcoin community is fascinating. It's, again, a lot of them are in the global South. We do want to target those regions, and we do think that these two together are again foundational principles for the Bitcoin network, and much of the cryptocurrency ecosystem depends on the ups and downs of Bitcoin. Yeah, and so sorry, I don't know if that answered your question, but yeah, I think global South are still the regions of interest for us.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I wanted to quickly talk about how you guys are looking to differentiate yourself in this space now over time, as for example, CryptoKitties is going to wallets. right? Every company will eventually have a wallet of some sort, right? How do you differentiate yourself in this space? What are you betting on that no one else is?
Well, the real question and the real challenge is about being able to be self-sovereign. That's really what we have all in common.
Self-serving.
Yeah, that we want to empower our users to own their private keys, to own their crypto assets. And to do that, you need to rely on some sort of security. And at Ledger, we use hardware wallet, as you know, but I'm going to give you a trade secret. The biggest problem of hardware wallet is that you need to buy a hardware wallet. So it works well maybe for the first 10 million of users, or maybe the first 100 million of users, but in a world where you have mass adoption, tokenization, trillion of assets in crypto assets, I mean, we're not going to sell 1 billion of hardware wallets. So what we have to really rely on and build upon is the underlying technology of Ledger, which can bring security, and then be able to help deploy this technology into smartphones. Because I believe that in 5 years or 10 years, it's really hard to really give a date. Everything, where you are going to interact and make your interactions with crypto will be on smartphones. There will always be a place for hardware wallets, but if you want to equip the world with cryptocurrencies or crypto assets, tokenization, then it's about smartphones. So that's why we have to see, it's not about CryptoKitties or things that we have to see much more longer term and make sure that our technology can really be deployed in all these smartphones in the future. And that's really something that from the beginning 5 years ago, we have put on our roadmap.
Yeah. I agree with Eric, but we don't have the same issue as the issue that he's having, selling a hardware wallet. Everything. So
it's an issue, but sometimes it's good as well. You know.
No, of course. The way we tackled our audience is that obviously there's a group of people who can afford a hardware wallet. And there's also another group of people who cannot afford a hardware wallet, but they also, at the same time, they need a secure means of access to their wallet. So that's why, like, when we came up with New Connect app, we were using, like, we figured out eventually the phones will have secure enclaves and key stores like that can, that has pretty much hardware wallet functionality integrated to your phone, and then a lot of people already know how to use the phone. So you don't have to, you just have to know how to use the app in that case. So it's not like big learning curve for them. So, and then we made the New Connect app, again, open and free for anyone to download. And within the last 3 months, we hit 100,000 downloads, which I'm really happy about, which means like 100,000 people are using secure means to access their wallet, other than like the unsecure ways that they've been using for like the past 3-4 years, other than hardware wallets, obviously. So, so it's like, we call it ourselves as next best thing to a hardware wallet, but I totally agree with you that it's not about just being one wallet provider or one wallet service. It's about like everyone coming together and like building the technology, underlying technology, so that even for mass adoption, eventually people will have a lot of options to choose from, and each and every option will be secure as the other one. So I think that's where we should be focusing on.
Yeah, again, I feel like my answer is the same as Eric, again. And you covered it. Yeah, I do think that at the end of the day, hardware wallets need to be embedded in smartphones, and that's what we do. And that's what the Exodus does. I think that, you know, it might seem obvious, but the differentiating factor still is truly empowering you to own your own keys, right? Is Apple really going to do that? Is Apple really going to give up a private key and let their user own it? I sincerely hope that they do that, you know. But is it a giant company like a Facebook or Apple or any company of that size? It's foundationally against, you know, the way business works for the past 50 years, right? You want to own the customer data. You want to own their private keys. You want to be able to survey. You want to be able to suggest whatever products. And so empowering a user to own their private keys is, again, fundamentally counter to, big business, right? And so how are we going to differentiate is just by doing that. It's, I want to challenge any phone manufacturer to do what we're doing, to truly allow people to own their private keys, to ship a phone to somebody to say, hey, we don't have a copy of your keys. We're not a custody solution, right? And we have a social key recovery mechanism in which when you lose your phone, you have to rely on your friends and family to recover your keys. You can't rely on us, right? That's something we're open sourcing called social key recovery. So when you buy the phone, you set up your keys. We'll split your keys into 5 parts. You share the 5 with your friends and family. All they have to do is download an app to keep 1 in the 5. And so when you lose your phone, you can recover it by getting 3 out of the 5 friends together, right? And so, that fundamental premise, again, is a fundamental premise that's also fundamentally differentiating to any of the companies, any of the big data companies today. I do want to challenge any of them to truly allow their users to own their keys. That foundation itself is the foundation of, building your, allowing users to own their digital identity, their data, things of that nature. And so, yeah, I fail to see, and it's still, no other big phone manufacturer has done that yet. I hope that they do, but and even when an Apple says I really care about your privacy, that privacy is, yes, I care about your privacy. That's protected within my walled garden, right? That's fundamentally different when we say we care about your privacy, that you own your keys, but we don't have access to your keys, right? That's fundamentally different again, right? And so we are on the, we're definitely on the minority side, and it's definitely an uphill battle. Differentiation is not our problem in this case.
Yeah, to emphasize a small point that he mentioned, we were talking about the 10-year period of growth that people don't have to completely understand what private key is, and I totally believe in that social key recovery is one of them. One of the points that understanding, hey, this is a wallet, but you still have the ability to share or split your key into 5 different people, and you can choose now how many number of people you want to approve it before you can recover your key. So these are the steps that we are HTC and other companies already taking in order to improve the usability and accessibility to people to understand private keys and access their wallets, and even mnemonic keys. It's one of the few ways where how we are trying to tackle this private key issue. And to emphasize one more point, yes, Apple, they say they care about the privacy, but no one's gonna go and read the fine prints in the bottom. So yeah, that's another thing that I wanted to emphasize.
Great. I'm going to open up the panel for questions from the audience. If anyone has a question.
There is one here.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's
you
right
can
here.
see it.
Right here, okay.
I think wallet services are already tackling this issue using a multi-sig format. So you need.
Can you repeat the question real quick? Can you repeat the question?
Oh, the question. So I believe the question. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So I believe the question was, it sounds like a binary system where either someone else controls your keys or you control your key. And the question is there a like in between? Like, is there a hybrid solution? Yes. So yeah, multi-sig wallets is one of the ways that people are tackling this issue. But it comes down to, at the end of the day, there cannot be, like in my opinion, there cannot be a hybrid solution, because what if the company disappears? And then now you have partial key, and then suddenly you're like, okay, I don't have access to my key anymore. But in that, a way that people tackle that issue is by having like full control to the person, but so you have to hide one of the keys. Let's say there are 3 total keys, and then you hide the one of the keys, but like you need 3 out of 2. So the company signs one, person signs one, you're good to go. But like if company disappears, there's a 3rd key. But at the end of the day, when you think about it, yes, the person is the one who's like, who have full access. If he wants to come back and be like, okay, screw the company, I want to use my funds by myself, it's his funds. So, and then the company cannot screw him. So at the end of the day, I think it'll be like one or the other. But there are use cases that multi-sig wallets can work out.
For me, I'm a huge fan of secure, MPCs, but it's still very early, and it's also very complicated. I do think that in the short term, this binary system, we need to solve this problem first, right? Meaning that, I want everybody to own their keys, and so when even if you physically rob me and you take my keys from my phone, it's one hack, it's one key, right? I want to solve the problem with one hack, hundreds of millions of people's keys gets hacked, right? Let's solve that problem first, right? And then once we get wide adoption, then we can get more creative and complicated and do more complicated, sophisticated things, right? And so, getting people educated about right now, the current state of public key infrastructure is, it's already a hurdle, right? I think I want to get there first, and then at the same time, let's figure out, the 2.0 solution of, secure MPCs, multi-sigs, different governance models, different signed transactions, key recovery. There's so many interesting things, innovations that, I would start to invest in, but it's something from a product side I want to say, let's wait, but let's do this, what you call a binary system first, right? Let's solve that problem first.
I have a question about quantum resistance with respect to the keys stored in hardware wallets, because there's one key that's associated with the wallet. And so do you have any plans to, because one strategy is to cycle keys for, I guess, a poor man's version of quantum resistance when you're using a non-quantum resistant algorithm. So do you have any plans for, or how would you do that with a hardware wallet?
Well, I think it's not related to hardware wallet. It's more like quantum resistant cryptography, you mean? Because if it's the hardware wallet, it's just here to secure the key. So if it's not resistant to quantum attacks, then nothing will be resistant, hardware or not. But right now, our position on that is that we are quite far in a time before we can see real life quantum attacks. So it's not really a concern that we have in the short term. There is a lot of research and development on the field. They're supposed to have like some cryptographic algorithms which are quantum resistant, but it will need to modify Bitcoin itself or to need to modify the blockchain protocol. There is nothing that a hardware wallet could add to become quantum resistant, for instance, without changing the fundamentals of the blockchain. So I'm not sure if I answered your question correctly. But from a hardware wallet manufacturing point of view, there is nothing that we can do to change that. It's more about privacy. This is anyway all the hardware wallets or even the software wallets who are using all the BIP39 and derivations from the seed. They are changing the keys all the time. Usually you will never reuse a key, but it's more for privacy because it's not supposed to leak some more information. Even if you do well the signature, it's not going to leak information that you can use to derive the private keys. It's more about privacy.
Yeah, to address the quantum issue again. Yeah, we're like way too far away from like having actual quantum attack. Yes, you might be like, maybe not. No. Probably, yeah, I'm not talking about.
They have when they wouldn't tell anyone.
Right? Yeah, I doubt that yet.
So the last time I checked, they are like that, like 12 qubits. But for like from my experience or like the knowledge that I have, we're a little further away. Like, well, we have still a little bit of time. And then again, it doesn't, like he mentioned, it doesn't come down to hardware wallets. It comes down to the core structure of whatever the blockchain you're using. So for example, if Ethereum doesn't have a quantum proof public key derivation method in place, like hardware wallet having that is not going to solve any issues because people will always have a private key somewhere that quantum computers can derive the public key, or like private key for the public key. So, again,
I think we should take this offline.
Okay.
I apologize, but
yeah,
we're kind of out of time.
I'll talk to you.
Let's give it a round of applause for our panelists. Thank you, everyone, for coming all the way here.
Thank you.
If you have any follow-up questions, be sure to talk to these guys after.